and welcome to the Edmonds Community College pregame show. I'm Steve Willits, and joined by Kelly Dugan, the head football coach for the Mountlake Terrace Hawks. Coach Dugan, it is September, it is Friday, it is football season. Home opener tonight against Seahome. I guess right off the bat, I should just ask you, what's practice been like over these last couple weeks, and are these guys ready to go?
Yeah, practice has been going well. Just continuing the structure that we established at the beginning of June, which is working for us. Level of excitement's high, the energy's positive. Guys are competing for playing time, which we always like to see. A daily basis, we're moving guys up and moving guys down, so that's a good thing to have going on, and they're really pumped for Friday.
And now let's talk about a few of these guys. Some of the key players we should be looking for not only tonight but all season long. I know you've got a little mixture of veteran players along with youth players coming up from the freshman team last year. Tell us a little bit about who some of the key players are.
Well, I think for everybody it starts down in the trenches, especially on the offensive line for us, and so we've got some good senior leadership down there. Joseph Abraha is a 300-plus, 6'3" dude, and he's vocal, he's smart, he's the leader of our offensive line. Zach Caudry is our center, another senior, good player, very coachable, solid technician. A newcomer for us is Michael Fu. He's one of our guards. He came to us from Oklahoma last year, didn't play for us, but this year, a big boy, nearly 300 pounds, and so we're pretty solid down there, and then they're going to pave the way for Garrett McDowell as our senior quarterback. Nick Fisher be our primary runner out of the backfield, and then of course we've got a couple wide receivers we like to use too when we have to.
Sure. Now I should ask you about Fisher a little bit. Last time we saw him out on the field at Edmonds Stadium, had a pretty gruesome leg injury last year. How is he coming along, and is he 100% ready to go?
Yeah, I'd say he's definitely 100%. Looks really good. His quickness is there. He's agile. He seems real confident. Early on in June, I kept talking to him, how you feeling? I'm just not quite sure, coach, and then I'd look over and he'd be doing a backflip. Or jumping over a guy's head.
Those are good signs right there.
So when I started seeing that stuff going on, I said, all right, you're good to go. We're going to stop babying you. You're going full speed. And so he feels good.
Now, I know this is your second year as the head coach of the program. You were involved with the program as the freshman coach before that. But really, what is the difference between year number 1 and year number 2 as far as preseason training, conditioning, practicing leading up to the first game? I would think that some of these players now kind of know what the expectations are from you and your staff. Is there a big difference between year number 1 to year number 2?
In some ways, there's a lot of differences. Last year, being hired in late April, wasn't a lot of time for preparation, wasn't a lot of time to put the coaching staff together. Strength and conditioning program really wasn't quite set the way we wanted it. But we did okay. We got through that. But for this year, we basically take December off, right? So that's kind of our idea about things. Other than that, it's 11-month sport. So we got going in January, have some fantastic strength and conditioning coaches, assembled largely a new staff. About half of my guys are new. So gave us a lot of time to work on our schemes and get our preparation together and build a chemistry between the coaches. And in the meantime, our kids are getting stronger by being in the weight room 4 days a week.
And so numbers in the weight room alone, are they up from last year?
They've been amazing. We're between 40 and 60 most of the time. Spring sports, kind of the numbers go down with track and field and baseball a little bit, but we were always right around 30 guys. And then we got the influx of freshmen here in June, and so that's helped it. I think we had 64 kids in the weight room yesterday.
Oh, wow. And that's before the season's even started.
Yeah.
Hey, let me ask you a little bit about the freshmen from last year, the ones who are sophomores now. One of the best freshman football teams probably in school history, undefeated team, a team that not only was winning their games last year, but they were really dominating their opponents. Those guys are sophomores now. Can we expect to see a few of those guys, or maybe many of those guys playing on Friday nights now on varsity?
Yeah. Really was a good team. Real exciting. The numbers were good last year. I think there were 29 or 30. And one of the cool effects of that is we picked up another like 6 or 8 kids out of that class, right? Because it seemed like fun and we had success. And so now we're probably at about 35, 36 sophomores. Out of that group, we have one that'll be a starter for us on both sides of the ball. That's Brandon Bach. He'll play corner and he'll play wide receiver. He's a really exciting player, extremely athletic. And then they're sprinkled in throughout. You know, we've got one on the defensive line. We've got a bunch of guys playing special teams because they're fast, they're aggressive, they're hungry. So I think our special teams will be improved just because of those sophomores, if nothing else.
Should be fun to see them play and see what those youngsters can do on Friday nights under the lights. Hey, I want to also ask you a little bit about a change that took place at Mountlake Terrace this year. Reclassification took place. It's on a 4-year cycle now. Mountlake Terrace going from a 3A school to a 2A school, but not changing conferences. There are 15 teams right now in Wesco 3A/2A conference. 14 of those schools are 3A, and then there's little Mountlake Terrace over here that's 2A now. Still playing the same schedule, but really in terms of getting into the playoffs, it doesn't matter as much now where you finish in the standings. It's more based on a point system on how many games you win and who you end up defeating and what their strength of schedule is.
Yeah.
Does that change anything for you in terms of, obviously maybe you're not watching the standings as closely as you used to, or you're not as concerned about which teams are beating the others in 3A. Have the kids talked about it a little bit? Have the coaches talked about it? And where do you stand on this?
Yeah, as far as talking about it, very little. I'm not even sure our kids know, to be honest with you.
They will soon.
I mean, they probably do, but I never hear anybody talking about it, and that includes the coaches. It's just sort of a matter of a fact that, this is where we're at. This is what our classification is where we're going to be for 4 years. And then this is who we play this season. So, as you pointed out, it doesn't really change much. We're still playing the same 3A South opponents, a couple added in, with the adjustments that happened. It really means nothing to us in the big scheme of things. We know we need to win football games. We need to beat the teams we need to beat. We need to beat some teams that maybe we shouldn't be or won't be predicted to beat. And we just want to be competitive, stay healthy, and accrue enough points so that we do make the 2A playoffs, because it's not a gimme. They're not just handing it to us.
Sure.
I do know that. The rest of the formula, a little more complicated than I care to dive into, so I'm sure you'll keep me updated on that stuff over the course of the year where we stand.
You just know you need to win football games.
That's
right?
all we got to do, yeah.
And speaking of which, you're going to be playing that Wesco 3A South Conference, that division this year. Glacier Peak moving on. They're now a 4A school. So with them out, we've gained Snohomish and Everett down in the South Division. Give me a little overview as to what you think about the division as it stands right now.
I think it's really tough. We've had conversations in the past about adding Everett and adding Snohomish. It's made the Wesco 3A South even more competitive than it was before. I know Linwood's going to be solid. I know Edmonds and Meadowdale are going to be solid. Then you add in Everett and Snohomish, and then we're not quite sure what we're going to get out of the Shoreline schools. But tough division, and every week is going to be a challenge.
And before you can get to the division, you have to play your 2 non-conference games, the first of which is right after this interview. Seahome tonight, big game, team that plays 2A up in the Northwest Conference up by the Canadian border. Tell me a little bit about the Seahome team. What do you know about them, and what can we expect to see from them tonight?
Yeah, we don't know a ton about them, but we have 2 games from last season that we've watched, so we know what they do schematically. Basically, they run a 4-4 stack, man-to-man coverage on defense. So we've been able to prepare for that, knowing what we're getting ourselves into. They're going to send a lot of linebackers, delayed blitzes, cross blitzing, so that type of thing. So we need to have our line prepared for that, and I think they are. Offensively, they run a wing tee, look. They run fly sweep and trap, fly sweep and trap. Fly sweep and trap, occasional counter, all 9s in the pass route. So they'll throw it deep, and then they'll just kind of keep working that fly sweep action and the trap up the middle. So it's not real diverse based on what we saw from last year, but it can be effective. If you're not prepared, then you're gonna have problems.
Sure. Now, and also a small squad. I was reading an article up in the North End that's mentioned they only had 29 players participating throughout some of their summer drills. I've got to think that early in the season, it sounds like it won't be too hot of a night tonight, but Early in the season, conditioning is always kind of a factor. Smaller team without big numbers. Does that change the way in which you strategize against a team like that, or you
Not
still
in the
just play
least
Mountlake Terrace
bit.
football?
Not in the least bit, because until I see them, until the game starts, it doesn't really make any difference whatsoever. We're going to do what we do. I know they're going to come out, be ready to play, and give us their best effort, and then you hope things go your way.
Sure. And now that we're done talking about football, I do have to ask you about one other thing. You've been a busy guy this month. I know there's been some activity going on down at Emerald Downs that you've been keeping your eye on.
Sure.
When you're not coaching football or running a pizza parlor down the street, you own horses. Racehorses. There we go.
Yeah.
Big week for you. Tell me a little bit about the horse named Sorelli and what happened down at Emerald Downs a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. So Sorelli's a quarter horse, which means they run straight line races. They run like 350 yards, 440 yards. It's a quarter horses are kind of the working horse breed. And the Bank of America Challenge is the biggest race in the Northwest for quarter horses, and it's must qualify to race in that stakes race type setup. So she qualified. Coming into the race, she'd won 3 out of 4 races at Emerald Downs, and we ended up winning it by a nice head. Which in quarter horse racing, a head is a lot because they're moving fast. They covered 440 yards in 21.79 seconds. So they're boogieing. So it's been a great summer for her. She's healthy. She's happy. Our trainer, Rodina Barrett's done a fabulous job. My partner on the horse, Tim Floyd, and I have been real patient with her. She's a 4-year-old, so we've had her. We raised her. We bought her as a baby. And she's been in California. She's been in Oklahoma. She's been in Idaho. And with mixed success. But we got her back here, got her settled in, got her head straight, got her physically right, and it's been a lot of fun. She's been fantastic.
And with that win, you also won another award down there, I believe.
Yeah, I actually received Owner of the Week of Emerald Downs. So that's basically all the owners down there. The people that be, the medias, whoever it is down there, they decide who that is. And so myself and my partner, Tim Floyd, got Owners of the Week. Our trainer got Trainer of the Week. We're going to sweep all the quarter horse awards this year at Emerald Downs because of Sorelli's success. So it's really great to be a part of it and have her carrying my name around.
So Coach has had a lot of success on the racetrack. Now we're going to see if he can shift that over and get some on the football field as well. Kelly Dugan, thank you for coming in here. Best of luck tonight and all season long.
Thanks a lot, Steve.
Again, the Mountlake Terrace Hawks, they're getting ready to play Seahome. That's coming up next. You've been watching the Edmonds Community College pregame show.